Wes here. I built a really cool logistics software with TypeScript, Next.js, React, Snipcart, all kinds of really cool stuff. And I want to show you around it. So I'm selling some t-shirts right now on my website, and I've done stickers in the past. And the hard part about doing physical merch is not like selling it. That's easy. You can put a shopping cart on a website, but it's the actual fulfillment, the picking, the packing, the finding the size, putting it in the bag, putting the shipping label on it, marking it as shipped, getting the user, the tracking number, all that stuff is difficult when you run it at scale. Like I printed 100 of them, they sold out in an hour. So I spent, I don't know, a couple of weeks building this software out that helps me automate all of this. And my end game is that I'll be able to have merch all the time. And I'll be able to just hand this off to somebody local who can do all of this for me. So it's really cool. There's labels, there's a barcode scanner. You beep beep. You can do that with the barcode scanner. It marks it as shipped. It emails it. And I'm going to take you on a tour of all of the parts because I think it was a pretty fun little app that I built. So first of all, the stack. I built the entire thing in TypeScript, which was really nice. This is probably my about 5th app. This is probably one of the larger things I've built in TypeScript, and it really shone through. I'll show you that. And I use Next.js for the bulk of it, both for its API handling. There's a lot of webhooks I needed to write, as well as the dashboard of the application. I'll show you here. This is all test data, by the way. I've still blurred it out just in case people did use their real thing. So we've got labels here that I'm able to see. There's this whole idea of batching items. I'll show you that in just a sec. Serverless functions. I use React Query for all the data, which my first time using React Query. Love it. It's awesome. Next auth just to log me in with GitHub. And then I used a thermal printer and a barcode scanner to actually handle the automation. And that's the biggest part for me, is that like, if I sell, like I sold 100 of them, and now at the time of recording, there's a couple hundred more have sold that I'm doing pre-orders on. And like that takes really, really long to pick and pack all that. So if I can automate that as much as I can, then that would be good. A couple services I used on top of that. I use Snipcart for the shopping cart. And what that allows me to do is to embed it right onto my website like this. And I initially was just going to put Snipcart on the website and call it a day. And then I realized like, oh, they don't actually do the whole hooking into custom shippers and labels and things like that, at least not yet. So I had to build that whole part myself. A lot of you probably ask like, why didn't you just use Shopify and not spend your entire day on this thing? And first answer is, well, I'm a developer. I like to build this stuff. Second answer is that I actually started it in Shopify, and then it started charging me like $30 a month, and I wasn't done it yet. And I didn't realize that I could sign up for like a dev account on Shopify and work there by that time I just scrapped it and moved on to Snipcart. I've been really, really happy with it. Not to say Shopify is not any good. I'm sure it's great. But I really like that you can just drop this onto, this is a Gatsby website. The idea is that we'll be able to do Syntax podcast t-shirts with this as well, and then just drop it into the Syntax website, regardless of what front end. The Syntax site is Next. This could be literally anything. Now, the shipping is a little bit of a weird thing because we live in Canada, and shipping in Canada is ridiculous. And it's also really hard to sort of automate that stuff. The labels that they give you on their online thing don't print on these standard 4x6 on Canada Post, and like shipping it internationally is very, very expensive. So there is a couple companies in Canada. We live like an hour from the US border. So there's all these companies that will allow you to buy postage through them, and then they run the border with your package and then ship them out either via USPS. They ship them in Canada Post within Canada, and then they use a couple different international carriers to make it. And the rates are much cheaper. So I integrated it with this thing called Chit Chats. They have an awesome API. It's really, really slick. They're able to do things. They have a really good staging environment. There's another one I'm looking at called Stallion Express right now. Their API isn't totally fleshed out, but I think I'm going to be able to make it work. And it looks like their international shipping is a little bit cheaper. So that's how you ship things in Canada if you do e-com. Otherwise, you you lose your shirt on literally you lose your shirt on how expensive the shipping rates are. I hosted all the API endpoints, the webhooks, this thing on Vercel. That worked really, really slick. I like that a lot. And then my own personal website, the Gatsby front end, is hosted on Netlify. So let's go into it from the start. So first of all, personal website. If I go to my personal website right here, there's not a whole lot that needed to be done on my personal website. I just have a merch page. And then on the merch page, you put these buttons, and these buttons right here have, let me bump this up for you. These just buttons have like data dash attributes. And this is what Snipcart is. So you load the Snipcart library onto your website, you put buttons on your page, you specify what the ID of the thing is, what the price of the thing is, what the URL is, what the name is, what the possible options are. So in my case, I did what custom option size, and then a custom option free stickers. So I have big box of stickers, and there's only 200 left at the time of recording. So if you want them, make sure you grab them. Otherwise, they're gone. I'll have more in future though. And then when you just add it to your cart, you're able to just do this. This is what Snipcart does for you. And it's really, really nice. So there is, on Snipcart, there is products, but you cannot really edit the products here. Where you edit the products is right in your HTML. And then the way that it works, you might be saying, oh, Wes, can't I just edit your HTML? I'm a hacker. So the way that Snipcart does it is when someone buys something, it will add it to cart. And then when you check out, it'll scrape your website and make sure that what the user added to their cart is the same as is in the HTML, the source of truth of your actual website. And if those things don't match, then it'll say, all right, you tried monkeying with it. So it's pretty good. The only caveat with that is it has to be server rendered. So if you're doing like a Jamstack website and you're not doing SSR, it's not going to work. And that's kind of the whole point of Snipcart, is that it's like ecom for Jamstack, but it's ecom for Jamstack that has to be server-side rendered. It wasn't an issue because I use Gatsby. It was an issue because doing it in development mode, you both needed to use ngrok because it needed to be publicly available on the internet. And then also Gatsby doesn't SSR in development mode. So that was a bit of a pain in the butt as well. So I did get around those couple issues, but it wasn't the smoothest experience. Otherwise, I really enjoyed Snipcart. I think I was really happy with having chosen it and trying it out, and how nice and smooth it is. Other things here, the free stickers here is spread in, because after I've sold 450 of the free stickers right here, free stickers left, then there is no more free stickers. That's all I have in the box. So then I spread in an empty object, and that little option will not be available to the users. So it'll just automatically take it off when they are not in there. Other things, that's pretty much it. Oh, I did make one more custom hook here called Use Snipcart. And that one is right here, Use Snipcart products. What this does is it goes to my API endpoint and fetches a list of the products, and then we'll return them. And does that every 10 seconds. And what that will do is, when I only had 100 of them, I didn't want people to be like, oh, Wes, I clicked add to cart and then it was gone, because there was only like a couple of every size and whatnot. So what this does is every 10 seconds, it updates the number of products that are left. And now that I'm doing them pre-order right now, so I shipped out the first 100 and now I'm doing pre-order, so we're not going to run out. And I was like, all right, well, I have these numbers already. So I'm just displaying them on the website, as well as I'm using them to calculate how many more people get stickers. So right now it's 218 of the next people get them. But if I just sit on this page, we'll come back to it in a second. Hopefully someone will buy one while we're recording, and then that number will automatically go down. Now, if we flip over to the Next.js side of things, there's a bunch of API routes. The first one is shipping. So if I go to shipping index right here, so Snipcart has support for multiple shippers. in there, but they don't have support for random shippers like these Chit Chat and Stallion Express. So in that case, I had to, where if I go to shipping right here, you see they allow you to do a custom shipping method, which is via a webhook. So what will happen is when you add something to the cart and you go ahead and check out and you put in an address and whatsboss@gmail.com, billing address. This is a really cool part of Snipcart is it will autocomplete it. So I'll put it in there. Now I just did continue shipping. Now what it did is Snipcart ping my server to this /API/shipping. And then the Next.js app that is running will get this. And this is just a node function. So it says, all right, this is a shipping request webhook right here. And what we need to do now is go to, in my case, Chit Chats and say, okay, given this person's address, how much will it cost to ship to them? So what we do is we ping their API comes back with a bunch of shipping methods, in this case, just one. And then we return that. And that's how you do custom shipping with Snipcart. And it works pretty well. There was one little hiccup where they didn't let you define an ID, but luckily I emailed them and said, hey, how do you, in my case, I wanted to save what type of shipping the user had selected. And you weren't able to do that. And they added that in just a couple of days, which is really cool. So what we do is we just return that. There's some stuff for caching in here in case somebody changes their, adds an item to cart, it will try to recalculate it. Or if they have the same items in the cart, it will just serve up the cached version of that and get fresh rates. Then when somebody has a completed order, if we go to webhook index.ts right here, what it will do is it will actually go ahead and buy the shipment for me. So right now, I am not buying them because I'm doing pre-orders, but when I was doing them in production, I was buying them right away. And what that does is it takes in the webhook. So Snipcart will say, all right, somebody bought one. We got the money. Now here's a payload of the information about the thing that the person bought. Then I need to go to my shipper and go ahead and buy the actual shipping. And that's what happens inside of there. What comes back from that is a postage label and an ID from Chit Chat, and then that needs to then be stored in the user's order. And this is cool because this whole thing that I built doesn't have a database. It's all just hot potatoing data between the shipper and the shopping cart software. And the shopping cart software does all the emails and everything like that. So it saves all that data to me. Then once I have all that information, then what comes in is this. This is the UI that I've built to allow me to manage all of it. So what happens is when people buy stuff, I can go to my orders right here, and it will show me everybody that has ordered something. Again, this is test data right here. And I can take a look at all the orders. There is one little thing that happens where I need to sometimes refetch the shipping labels, and that can happen when the shipping label doesn't come back within 3 seconds. And that's fine. You just hit the refetch metadata button and it will go back to the shipper and get the metadata for that and put it back onto the order. Then I can go to the labels here. And this is no longer in the API, but this is just in /orders. This is my thing we have right here. So first of all, what we do is we use React Query to go ahead and fetch the data. And React Query is really, really sick because it will allow you to fetch data however you want. In my case, it's just a regular REST API. It could be a GraphQL API as well. And they have these really sweet dev tools that will show you all of the data. You see there's all this information about the person that bought that specific order. And then if you React Query will automatically refetch it if you tab away and tab back. You see how it's refreshing it? You can see this little, I hooked up end progress to that. And every time you go, so it's almost like real time. And you can change how often that pulls and whatnot, but it's just a really nice way to manage all of your data and debug it and whatnot. So highly recommend checking out React Query, and you can do things like refetching and whatnot as well. Then when we have our orders that are coming back from the API, so in this case, it's API orders. So all we do here is go ahead and fetch the orders. And I had to write a whole bunch of custom logic that will go ahead and fetch the data from Snipcart. And it's pretty cool here. I used a bunch of TypeScript to get different types, get a single order, get multiple orders, update an order. Same thing with the chit chats as well. Right here, I had to, I used TypeScript generics here to make a generic request function here. And then that request, let me show you here. You can request a shipment. You can request an array of shipments. You can request a shipment response. You can request a batch. I'll show you that in just a second. And this is where TypeScript really shone, because then I can do things like batches dot, and then it's like, oh, it knows there's data, and then it knows it's a for each, and then it knows that each one is a data dot, see, created at ID label, because it knows that batches is an array of chit chat batch. And then when you map over it, it knows that each individual one is an individual chit chat batch. And because I had to go ahead and write the types for all of these, but now that I have them, I can very easily see what is on that. And especially with the Snipcart ones, let me show you the Snipcart. You see, like, some of these are massive, right? Like Snipcart order. Woo, tons and tons of properties on these. These are hundreds. And I actually asked them if they have the types, and they sent them to me, and it was like 1,500 lines. I got to convert it to that yet. So lots in there. Anyways, what was I showing you? The labels. So you query the orders, you show how many orders there are, and then I have a labels component. This labels component will render out two types of labels. First, the packing label, which is like, what did the person buy? And then the second thing is the actual shipping label that the user has to get. Now, I wanted to use one of these, which is a barcode scanner, in order to mark them as shipped. So the way that it works is that you just go to this website, and then I hit Command P and print it out. That comes out of I have a little label thermal printer underneath here that takes these thermal labels. There's no ink, it's just heat, and it makes it black. And then once I have that, I have the label that goes on the actual bag, that the thing that the user has bought. And then I also have this packing label that I can see what they've bought. I think I might get rid of this at some point and just make this on the screen. So the idea would be that you just scan the label and the screen will show you what to pick and pack. But it is nice when you walk halfway across the room to look for a small pink shirt. Then you can say, okay, what do they need? Like, you can kind of take it with you. These are very, very cheap. This one doesn't need to be on a label because we're not sticking it to anything. But the fact that it comes out of the same printer and it doesn't get lost, it's 2 cents for a single label. So it's not a big expense at all. Now, once these are on the actual packages, you need to do something called batching. So you can't just like take these shipments and drop them off at the shipper. They need to be put in batches, which is essentially a bag or a box of multiple shipments. So what happens is that you go to your batches here. I click on create a batch. It makes a new batch here. I can go to it, and then I get this. This is a batch ID. So I can go ahead and just print that to my label printer. And I get a little QR code with the label. So what I do is I peel that, I stick it on the box or the bag that I'm going to batch. And then if I'm on any of these pages, I take my scanner and I scan the actual label. So this scanner is Bluetooth or USB. And what it does is when you scan any type of barcode, it just takes whatever is in that barcode and pastes it into wherever your thing is, and then hits the enter key. So I don't know, do I have something on my desk that also has a barcode? Here we go. So this is just a cable, right? Like it can read the barcode item, and I never worked at a grocery store or anything like that, so I thought that was pretty cool. So what that will do is I have a scanner component here, and it's basically just an input right here. And then when somebody submits the input, meaning that the barcode scanner sends the enter key, which is a form submit. And then if it starts with batch : it will just route me to that page. So if I'm on like the home page here and I scan it, you see it automatically brings me to that batch page. Then what I do is each of the shipments have a QR code on it, and I can go ahead and scan that QR code. And what that does behind the scenes is, let's go ahead and see here. I have all the code. It gets the shipment from Snipcart. It logs that. It adds that shipment to a batch in ChitChat. So now if I go to my batches here and go here, you'll see there, that's the one that I just added right there. And then it also goes into Snipcart and marks that shipment as shipped. And then it will send an email to the user saying, hey, your order has been shipped. Then when I'm totally done, or when I filled up an entire bag, I flip over to this batch right here. And this is the batch, the label that the shipper needs. So I go ahead and print that. And I take that label, peel it off, stick it to the thing, and go ahead and drop off the bag at the shippers. And that tells them exactly how many items they have. So I thought that one was really cool. Just like the being able to just quickly do it. It's wireless. You can do it if we're in a spot where you're, I don't know, 15 feet away from the computer, it'll still work. I also hooked up audio to it, because if it does not successfully do it, for whatever reason, that one's in another batch already, or there's no shipment found, it will not play a success sound. But when it does successfully happen, it just takes this audio element right here. It has a beep on it, and it goes beep like you would do at a regular store. And that's just a visual cue to me. I know that everything has worked on properly. All right, what else? What else do we have here? The Next.js dashboard, orders, labels, Bluetooth, barcode, the batching. So yeah, there's kind of a lot to it. And it was really fun to build this, because now I have this really slick automated system, and I don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this fulfillment and batching and labels and things like that. Because when I started this, I went on YouTube and I looked at how a lot of other people do it. And then there's either people on the big end where they have an entire enterprise system, huge Shopify plugins, everything like that, and it does it all for them. Or there's people on the other end where they just download a CSV of their products, upload it to the shipper, print them, pack it themselves. And I'm sort of in between, where I'm I want to automate this because I'm a nerd. I have enough volume that automation will definitely save a lot of time and money. But I also am not a massive company where I'm just selling a shirt or two with some stickers. So if you want to try it out, all this code is open source. I'll put the links down in the description as well if you want to take a look at it. It's obviously not totally done. There's still lots of little ESLint errors. It does compile. It's type safe, but there's still little issues with it. But I don't really care that much. I will fix that as I continue to refactor this thing and make it a little bit better. But I thought it was pretty cool with the labels and everything. So you want to grab a shirt, go ahead and grab them. No sweat if not, no pressure at all. This is just sort of a fun thing. One thing I didn't even mention is before I even got into web development, or as I got into web development, MySpace, t-shirts is what I designed for a long time. So being able to actually print my own t-shirts and sell them and have people wear them is a pretty cool feeling. That's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you later.